Imagine planning a dream trip, a study scholarship, or a work opportunity, and suddenly getting denied entry to a country you hope to visit. No warning, no explanation. That's what millions of people from over 30 countries are facing right now because of a sweeping US immigration crackdown. Today, we break down the new travel restrictions that include Nigeria, the Gambia, Tanzania, and more. What's happening, why it's happening, and what it really means for you. Stick around because what this policy could mean for global mobility, students, families, and future travel might shock you. Let's unpack it. So what's going on? The President Donald Trump administration has expanded a U.S. travel ban and immigration restriction to cover dozens of countries, including Nigeria, the Gambia, and Tanzania, among others. As part of an intensified immigration crackdown, this broader policy is set to take effect starting January 1st, 2026. This latest expansion brings many countries under full or partial restriction on entry, visas, and immigration related applications, as Trump White House argued that measures are necessary for national security and stricter vetting of foreign nationals. So, what countries are affected? The administration announcement from December 16 to 17, 2025 shows that full travel ban, no entry for most of all citizens, were imposed on countries such as Burkina Faso, Mali, Niger, South Sudan, Syria, and holders of Palestinian Authority passport. The second is partial travel restriction, meaning limitations on visas and travel categories apply to countries including Nigeria, the Gambia, Tanzania, Angola, Ivory Coast, Gabon, Zambia, Senegal, and others. Countries under partial restrictions will face limits on certain types of visas like tourist, student, or immigrant visas until further notice. This latest expansion increases the total number of countries under US travel restrictions from 19 to 39 nations. So, why are these travel bans happening? According to the US government, this policy is part of a broader immigration crackdown justified by claims that some listed countries have poor screening systems or deficient travel vetting. Another thing is there are high visa overstay rates or document fraud risks that make reliable background check difficult. They are believed to pose potential national security or public safety risks. Officials from the administration have tied this crackdown to a relevant violent incident in Washington, D.C., where two U.S. National Guard members were shot during a security event, an attack linked to an Afghan national, which they say highlights gaps in vetting systems. Advocates and critics, however, argue that these security rationales are broad and can unfairly impact millions of innocent travelers, students, and professionals. So let's take a closer look at Trump administration's policy agenda. This is not the first time a US president has used travel bans as a tool. In fact, Trump previously imposed controversial bans during his earlier term with a focus on several Muslim majority countries. The new measures of 2025 revive and expand that approach, but with a wider reach, now targeting many African and Caribbean countries, which critics say disproportionately affects Black, non-Western, and low-income nations. Around 16 of the newly restricted 20 countries are in Africa, making the continent one of the most targeted regions under this tightened policy. So, what does this partial restriction really mean? So, you saw the list, but what exactly happens if your country is in the partial list? Partial restriction does not mean a complete ban, but they do significantly limit tourist visas, student visas, work visas, some immigration applications. Citizens of these countries might still be eligible for entry under special exemptions, such as diplomats, those with existing visas, or people with family ties in the US. However, new applicants will face higher scrutiny, possible denials, or longer waits, impacting international students, business travelers, and families. Nigeria, the Gambia, and Tanzania. What you need to know. For Nigeria, Africa's most populous nation, now faces partial travel restriction under this expanded policy. Nigerian travelers may face difficulty obtaining certain types of visas unless they fall under exemptions. Nigeria's huge diaspora, students and business travelers could see increased processing times or denials, affecting education, entrepreneurship, and family reunification. The Gambia is a smaller West African nation, also appears on the partial restriction list. Citizens seeking student or visitor visas might encounter more stringent vetting and additional documentation requirements. This can slow down opportunities for Gambian students wishing to attend US universities or professionals, seeking exchange programs. Now let's move to Tanzania. Similarly, Tanzanian citizens are now under partial restrictions, meaning visas may be harder to secure unless strict documentation and screening are satisfied. This affects tourism, education, and business exchanges, all industries that thrive on mobility and access. So who is speaking out? The travel ban has drawn sharp criticism from human rights groups, immigration experts, and foreign policy analysts who argue it unfairly targets people based on nationality rather than individual behavior. Another thing is it could breed resentment and hurt diplomatic ties. Another is it impacts students, workers, families, and global businesses. Critics argue that national security concerns should be balanced with fair evidence-based immigration policies that doesn't penalize entire nations. For global reactions so far, while the US maintained this policy is aimed at tightening security, several countries affected are evaluating responses, including diplomat engagements to clarify the restriction, call for negotiation on vetting standard. Another is public criticism from advocacy groups defending mobility rights. This policy moves also raise concerns about retaliatory travel restrictions, which could escalate tension between the US and affected countries. So let's look at the key takeaway. The key takeaways is that it's a major shift in US immigration policy with immediate and long-term consequences. For citizens from dozens of countries who will face stricter entry restrictions starting January 1st, 2026. Nigeria, the Gambia, and Zambia are among nations now facing partial travel restrictions that limit access to US visas and entry. The official justification centers on security and vetting concerns, but critics call it discriminatory and overly broad. Whether you are planning to study abroad, reunite with family, expand your business, or just travel, these changes matter. Keeping up with immigration policies and understanding what they mean for you is very, very important in a world where borders are increasingly tightening. So that's it for today. Hope to see you in the next one. Bye.